Welcome to 2024. I had one line and I messed it up. Welcome to 2025. I don't know about you, but 2024 was a really exciting year of disc golf, and I have a lot to be grateful for. I just wanted to make a quick video to talk about how 2024 went for me and what I'm looking forward to in 2025. As the new year started, I saw a lot of posts saying, I'm so glad that 2024 is over, can't wait for 2025. And I don't know, maybe it's just me. It seems like people make those posts every year. And I can get it. Sometimes you want to get past something in your life that happened or everything seems to be going wrong. I get that. But heading into 2025, I really wanted to make this video and just talk about the really great things that happened on the course in 2024. I had a lot of wonderful blessings, a ton of stuff that I'm truly grateful for. I just kind of wanted to go back and look at the things that I did in the last 12 months. Just a couple of weeks into 2024, I attended the Eagles Wings Unchained Disc Golf Conference. The conference was really great, and it started off really well for me. I played MA1 in the Flex Start, but I played in the same layout as Gannon Burr, Isaac Robinson, Cole Redolin, and a number of other talented Pro Tour players. I ended up winning MA1 with a 993 rated round, which at that point was my best rated round of my disc golf career. It was a really cool experience. As a little bonus, I also tied Silas Schultz. It was a really cool little dabbling in the idea of, how do I play against people who play on the Pro Tour? It wasn't a real indication of whether I could compete on the tour. I'm not thinking that I'm at that level, but it was cool to catch this tiny little glimpse of how do I match up. As the Unchained Conference was wrapping up, they had an ace throw-off with a pile of discs set aside as a prize for anybody who could hit the ace in the ace throw-off. To make a long story short, I was spending a few minutes warming up and praying before the ace throw-off. I felt a little bit silly and a little bit selfish, but I asked God if he would let me ace in the ace throw-off. As I was praying, I heard the chains get hit and a roar of cheering, and it turns out that Randon Lata had hit the ace while I was getting warmed up. So I headed over to everybody. They were still pretty excited, but people were still throwing. So I figured that might as well give it a shot. And sure enough, I also threw the ace in the ace throw-off with Randon. We were the only two people who hit the ace, so we ended up having a little CTP challenge. I ended up being closer in the CTP and came home with a stack of discs. A couple of notable discs that I came home with include this 2017 Nate Sexton Firebird, a sweet 20th anniversary Buzz, and a couple of Innova Gators donated from Paul Macbeth's personal collection. I also got to pick out a bunch of other discs, some of which I've been throwing and using throughout the last year. Overall, the beginning of the year was just such an exciting, really cool experience to be able to go to that conference, to have a couple of highlights from it. It was really awesome, and it was something that I was truly grateful for. The next couple of months of disc golf for me weren't my best. They were fine, but didn't really have many outstanding moments for the next few months. I ended up just kind of barely not being able to make it to US AMs or Amateur Worlds last year, so I was pretty disappointed that I couldn't go. I missed out on a big A tier in Charlotte as well, the Charlotte Amateur Championship, so kind of just a couple of disappointing things happened. As summer rolled around, I was looking at trying to qualify for the Gainesville Chainhawks WAR team. If you're not familiar with WAR, basically disc golf clubs from across Florida all come to meet together on a couple of specific weekends, each team sending 10 players to compete on a couple of different layouts, doubles, singles, shorts, longs, etc. Throughout the WAR weekend, you'll play every club in your pool, and you'll aggregate your wins, losses, and ties together by the end of the weekend. Leading up to WAR, I wasn't really feeling incredibly confident in my disc golf game. I actually felt like I might take a qualifying spot from someone who is more deserving, and I was afraid that I would make the WAR team and compete poorly. I really didn't know if it was going to be a good idea for me to play on the team. So I was very hesitant going into a couple of the WAR qualifiers, but it was something that I took a little bit of time to pray about. And I decided that I would go for the qualifying rounds and just trust God with the results. And I ended up qualifying for the team. To make another long story short, my doubles partner, Tim, and I we're headed into our last round, hoping that our team would do well enough against our opponents to barely qualify for the second war weekend that was going to be held the next month. Coming down the stretch to the final hole of the first war weekend, Tim and I were up one stroke over our opponents. And then they aced. It was cool, but it was not what we wanted to see at that moment. With that ace, we went from winning our matchup to tying, and that half point ended up dropping us to a tie for the last qualifying spot with Tampa. We went into the playoff with Tampa, which pretty much consisted of each of us throwing a tee shot, and then starting from the closest out to the furthest, everybody had one chance to make their putt. So we start the playoff, and what happens? One of the Tampa guys aces the playoff hole. The good news for us is that just before we started the playoff, someone asked what happens if someone aces. And it turns out that an ace just counts as a made putt. It didn't count as anything extra, as anything special. It's just someone who doesn't have a putt to make. So then we all threw our shots, and we all went up to our putts. Starting from the closest to the furthest, Gainesville made 6 putts, Tampa made 6 putts. Then, I didn't have a great tee shot, so it was my turn to putt from just outside the circle, maybe 36 feet. I barely squeaked my putt in over the cage. Hit the cage, hit some chains, hit the cage, and fell in. Barely made it to give us our 7th putt, and after my putt went in, nobody else made their putt. We won the playoff by 1 putt, barely beating Tampa and barely qualifying for the second weekend of war. Most of this playoff was actually captured in a Facebook Live video from Chris Clark, so you might be able to track that down and find that. The second weekend of war starts with my birthday. I turned 29. Woo! Instead of playing on a doubles team, I ended up playing on the shortest layout, singles. In some ways, the shortest layout is easier because, of course, you don't have to throw as far, you're going to get more birdies. But obviously, it's about who you're matched up with in your competitive field. Somebody else could go 9 down through 9, just having a great round. So there was still a lot of pressure to really succeed on the short layout. Over the weekend, I ended up tying twice, but taking the other 5 wins. So I ended up with 6 out of the 7 possible points total. Going into the final round, we were several points behind first place, but we weren't matched up against the winning team. So we had a little bit of hope. If we competed really well against our opponents and the winning team played poorly, we would have a chance at catching them, maybe taking first or second place. And as it would happen, we played really well, and the winning team had a tough matchup. They ended up taking only a couple of points, and we outright won war. That was exciting enough on its own, but then I found out that because I had won 5 of my 7 matchups and tied the other 2, getting 6 out of the total possible 7 points over the weekend, I was tied with 3 other players for the most points earned. The most points earned over the weekend grants the title of War King and a nice cash bonus. I went to the playoff with 3 others, and I ended up being the closest to the basket. As the other 3 went to take their putts, there were a couple of tough angles, a little bit of wind to deal with, and they each missed, leaving me to make a partially obstructed and awkward 12-footer for $590. If you've seen my YouTube short, you know that I barely made it just over the cage, taking home the title of War King and a lot of Taco Bell money. War was an incredibly cool experience, and it all started with me feeling like I didn't belong. I really felt, as I was looking at those qualifying rounds, like I just didn't quite belong on the team. Like I maybe wasn't good enough to earn a spot and compete there. And as it turns out, I did play the easiest layout, but I was still able to contribute to the team. This was something that I did experience a little bit of fear with. In the end, I fully kept my trust and my faith in Christ. I truly believe that he blessed me with a successful experience on the war team. Just a week later, I came up to Charlotte and played my first 1,000 rated round at Bailey Road Park, putting up a 15 down through 21. It's an easy layout, it's an easy course, couple of tough holes, but on most of the holes you should be within 35-40 feet off the tee. But I still had to make a lot of putts to take that 15 down, and as a flex start, the three of us who tied for first place all took the win. Getting my first 1,000 rated round just after taking the title of War King on my birthday weekend was really awesome. 1 week later, my brother Jake and I were able to compete in the USDGC amateur doubles. We qualified for this earlier in the year, which now that I think of it, we had to win in a playoff for third place to get our qualifying spot. We had a fantastic doubles round for the first round at Westminster Park, including a crazy eagle, with my brother throwing well over 400 feet and me hitting the 70-foot putt. We took the eagle on a hole that I think only 4 or 6 teams total took the eagle in round 1. We ended up 16 down through 18 holes with that eagle and tied for first place. We teed off on the lead card for round 2. We struggled at Winthrop University. The sheer distance and a little bit of wind made it tough to stay with the level of competition for USAM doubles. My brother had a couple of great throws near the end of the round to keep us up close near first place, just a few shots back from the lead. We struggled a little bit again for round 3, but we ended up in 5th place for the USDGC Amateur Doubles 2024. That was a really cool experience. It was great to have a day where we kind of felt like we had a chance to win it. And even though we ended up several shots back from that, we had a great time. Shout out Left Hand Backhand Disc Golf. Check out his channel, and the 3 rounds were all filmed and are available on his channel. Especially round 1 is worth checking out. After the excitement of those 3 weekends in a row, I had a couple of months to really get prepared for the Chainhawk Open. I won the Chainhawk Open in the MA3 division 2 years ago. Last year I took 4th in MA1, and I really wanted to take MA1 down this year and then basically move on to MPO. I put in a lot of practice rounds and a lot of work getting ready for the tournament. From Sunday to Wednesday, the week of the Chainhawk Open, I putted over 1,500 times to prepare. It really paid off, as I only missed 2 Circle 1 putts throughout the whole Chainhawk Open weekend. I started off round 1 of the Chainhawk Open really great, and by that I mean I took a bogey. I was a little tempted to give into that frustration, but I've been working a lot on my competitive round attitude, and I've been spending a lot of time in prayer. Throughout the whole weekend, I kept reminding myself that I trust God with everything, including every shot, every throw, every putt of the Chainhawk Open. I think the piece that I had was a huge factor. Out of my 7 bogeys, I was able to bounce back with a birdie after 6 of them. In the end, I was able to take the win for my final MA1 tournament of 2024. I also ended up with this really sweet trophy, painted by Noel. Super cool. I had my eyes on this trophy weeks before the Chainhawk Open, and I am so glad that I won so that I get this for myself. You can check out full coverage of the Chainhawk Open on my YouTube channel. All 3 rounds are captured. I didn't get my opponents playing. I just had myself filmed, but I hit a couple pretty good putts, especially in round 1. So check that out and see how I played. At this point, I feel like I've said this a lot, but 1 week later, I played my first MPO tournament. It was just a local kind of wrap up after the Chainhawk Open tournament. I think every basket was the opposite pin position as it was in the Cho, and I ended up winning. It was a pretty kind of shocking experience. Just 7 of us in the field, pretty casual, just weekend C tier. But my first foray into the MPO world was a win. That was really cool. I ended up turning the cash down. As I mentioned, the US Amateurs and Amateur Worlds, I'm turning cash down for now to keep my amateur status so that I can compete in those this coming summer. But it was pretty tempting. I mean, $110 was calling my name. But I passed it on to the next guy in line, and actually most of the field ended up with the payout because 3 of us passed on the cash. I thought after the Chainhawk Open and the following tournament that my year was all wrapped up. But I came to Charlotte for Christmas to visit my brother and my family, and my brother was competing in the Charlotte Roar Open. Well, I decided to not only join him, but keep up my, habit of playing an MPO. Once again, I felt incredibly blessed I had a crazy good first round and put up a 1028 rated round to get to second place after round one to make lead card with Paul Ulibarri. I was blown away. It was very intimidating. They actually filmed the lead card. The YouTube video is not out yet, but the Greatest Media Team, that's their YouTube name, they filmed the lead card for the second and final round of the tournament. Not everything went super great for me. I had some putting errors, missed a few routine, simple circle one putts that I normally have no trouble making, 95% of the time. But in the end, I ended up 2 shots back from second place, and I managed to beat Yuli. It was a super cool experience for me to compete against someone who's on the Pro Tour. I'll be able to say for the rest of my life, if nothing else, that I beat Paul Ulibarri. Taking 6th place ended up being $150. Once again, I passed on the cash. A little bit harder to do this time, a little bit tougher, but I did. As I mentioned before, I'm turning down cash for now. This allows me to keep my amateur status through the next few months. I'm only doing this until US Amateurs and Amateur Worlds in the summer, and after that, I plan to take cash. To wrap it all up, I really had what I felt was an incredibly blessed year in disc golf. Obviously, there are plenty of disc golfers who've accomplished a lot more than me, but for the level of competition that I was in as an amateur and stepping into the MPO division, it just seemed like everything was going really, really well for me. I had so many moments that I was humbled by, I was grateful for, and I can do nothing but glorify God and praise Him for all of the good that He has given to me. On the YouTube side of things, I was able to gain a bit over 3,000 subscribers this year, and I've been working my way towards monetization status. Hopefully, kind of soon, I'll be able to get there. Basically, I decided to count my disc golf blessings for 2024, and I just wanted to make this video and talk about all of those incredible moments. Not all of them got filmed, a lot of them did, and now I want to turn and look ahead to 2025. Obviously, I have no idea realistically, what's going to happen this year, but I can at least tell you what I'm planning to do. First of all, everybody's announcing their sponsorships. Discraft got back with me and they just said they paid Ezra Robinson too much. They didn't have enough left over for me. So that was a big letdown, but at least they told me. Well, I don't have any official announcements of a sponsorship yet, but something might be coming kind of soon. I'll give you a tiny little hint. It's not Dynamic Discs. It's not. Sorry. I tried. I putt with the Warden. I make a bunch of putts. I even have a playlist on my channel called Jump Putts where I almost exclusively make my putts with Wardens, and they just don't care. They also won't return my emails. Okay, let's talk goals for 2025. First of all, I've pretty much mentioned it, but I'm planning to essentially play MPO for the majority of this year. I might play a couple of big tournaments in MA1, possible, but just pretty much Amateur Worlds and US Amateurs are the 2 tournaments that I'm looking for to compete in the amateur division. Just about everything else, with maybe 1 or 2 exceptions, I'm planning to play in MPO. After US Ams and Am Worlds, I'm planning to fully become a professional disc golfer, accept cash in MPO, assuming that I can cash again. I hope I can. Really hope I can. And fingers crossed, maybe over the course of the next couple of years, I can make back some of that money that I've been putting into disc golf. My goal in both of the amateur majors is top 20. That might be a lofty goal, but hey, it's a goal. I don't have to necessarily meet that goal to play well in those events. It's just kind of my target. Another goal of mine is to take an MPO win in Charlotte. Maybe something around 20 competitors would be a big enough win, even in a C tier, for me to think, man, if I can win in the MPO field in Charlotte against 20 players, that would be big. That would be awesome. I managed to squeak in at the tail end of 2024, making coverage, although it's not been released yet. I checked off that 2025 goal a little preemptively. So now I'm hoping to do it again. I also squeaked in beating a Pro Tour player, Paul Ulibarri, at the very end of the year. I would love to improve on that and do that twice in 2025. I have no idea if that's realistic, but I'm going to try. Assuming that I'm still getting better, I'm hoping for 15,000 rated rounds in 2025. I hope that's not too lofty of a goal. Finally, for my disc golf goals, I am hoping to take my rating from 965 to 985. That would be a really big jump, but last year I went from 940 to 965, so I know it's possible. On the YouTube side of things, I would love to reach monetization status, hopefully in the first half of 2025. Fingers crossed, we'll see what happens. I'm also hoping to reach 7.5 thousand subscribers. I'm planning to release one video every week in addition to the 2 shorts that I put out every day. And I'm hoping to go live a lot more often than just for a disc giveaway announcement or for a holiday. So be on the lookout for a couple of live stream announcements coming soon. 2024 was a good year of disc golf for me. I'm super grateful and thankful for all of the opportunities that I had, and I'm so glad that God has given me the peace and the opportunity to compete at the level that I'm managing to play. It's been incredible. Hopefully, some big things are coming in 2025, and you'll be there to experience some of it with me. Thanks for the support. Thank you for all the comments. I love you guys. Let me know, was 2024 a good year for you? What were some of your disc golf accomplishments over the last 12 months? Let me know in the comments. Thanks as always for watching. Catch you guys on the next one.
Let's go, Brad!
Let's go. Hey, this way. What's this YouTube?
Birdie time.
Birdie time. Birdie time.
Taco Bell for $590.
Let's go, Brad.
Let's go, Brad.